I'm sure everybody believes that the world would be a lot safer if we didn't have nuclear weapons. So why is it so safe that only certain countries are allowed to have them and allows them to threaten other people and other countries?
Britain's got nuclear weapons, America's got nuclear weapons, India's got nuclear weapons. We have used them. Israel has got them. We have used them in a responsible way. We've entered into agreements. We've passed together the anti-proliferation agreements.
India hasn't. India's reneged on its agreement. It's
not. We have behaved in a responsible way.
Israel has never
It's a matter for the people to think, if Iran got nuclear weapons, are you as confident that they would use them in as responsible a way as those powers that have them? I am worried about it, and I don't think I'm alone in that.
OK, man there in the striped shirt.
You're talking about responsible use of nuclear weapons. It seems that's a contradiction in terms. Responsible use of nuclear weapons is not using them at all. And if that's the case, why do we need nuclear weapons?
I agree that responsible use of them... I agree with you that responsible use of them is not using them at all, but there's a long period of time when our enemies had nuclear weapons. Where would that have left us if we hadn't had them?
And another point to make about Iran, of course, you'd be more relaxed about them having nuclear power. They weren't using their existing weapons to help kill our troops in Iraq, which they're doing right now.
And the man here on the left.
I was a little bit worried by something that Lord Faulkner said earlier, referring to the so-called family of nations, obviously referring to America, Britain, maybe France. I mean, is it the EU? Is it some sort of unilateral prerogative of these Western countries that they can use force, particularly in light of America's criticisms of Turkey in northern Iraq, saying that, oh no, you're not allowed to use force, but it's okay for us to do it in the same situation? Is that not some sort of new form of Western imperialism?
No, and I wasn't meaning that. It's a good point that you make. The point I was trying to make is, isn't the best thing that as many nations as possible, not just in the West, say we don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons because it's dangerous for the region and it's dangerous for the world? The more countries that say that, and you're right across the world, the better.
And the PKK in northern Iraq, is it all right? I mean, it's not all right for Turkey to take action there?
It's not. The PKK I utterly condemn for what they have done. It's not all right for Turkey to take steps to invade northern Iraq. What we're trying to do...
That's our job.
No, but surely the right thing to try to... Surely
Can't have Johnny Turk invading Iraq.
Yeah, exactly.
Surely the right thing to try to do with Iran is to avoid the use of force. And that's why I am sure we are right to impose sanctions, because the points that are made about the internal Iranian regime, the Iranians strongly support the development of nuclear weapons. What was being said on my right...
It's nuclear power. It's nuclear power. Stop conflating nuclear power with nuclear weapons. Iran doesn't have any nuclear weapons. And the IAEA says there's no evidence they're building them. Iranians support the development of nuclear power.
Francis Maude?
Well, the idea that Iran is developing civil nuclear power, this country that's sitting on more oil than half of the rest of the Middle East put together,
but
so they
America has nuclear power.
urgently need nuclear
America
power.
has more oil.
OK, and a point from the gentleman here on the right. Then we must move on.
Sorry,
Yep.
I'd just like to say, surely the sanctions will increase the sort of hardship of the Iranian people, and that hopefully will therefore reduce Ahmadinejad's popularity and therefore encourage the fall of his regime.
OK, OK, let's move on to another question. Theo Bartholomew, please. Theo Bartholomew.
With the latest projection that the UK population is to hit 65 million by 2016, is it time to hang up the "this island is full" sign?
Is it time to hang up "this island is full" sign? Fraser Nelson.
I don't know, the island, of course, isn't full, but the point is that we have several vacancies, and the reason why the immigrants come is to do jobs here. I mean, nobody's saying that they're all coming and signing on. And if you ask me, one of the most scandalous things of this Labour government is that right now, after 10 years, we have 5 million people on out-of-work benefits in this country. In Glasgow, in Liverpool, in Manchester, it's 1 in 4 working-age people are claiming benefits. So no wonder they come. And I think this is time to say, well, why don't we actually see if we can use the economic growth to give our own people jobs rather than paying them to do nothing? And for as long as we take the view that there are a certain number of people who we can afford to be kept out of work in perpetuity, basically, then we can't really complain if so many immigrants come here to do our jobs. But you make the point, I mean, the figures we had showed 190,000 immigrants every year until 2030. That's an incredible number. That's the equivalent of a city the size of York or the size of Portsmouth every single year. Now, if our government's going to use these people to make the economy grow, then it's got to ask where they're going to live, who's going to teach their kids, where they're going to go when they're sick. And we have to properly prepare for immigration because we're in denial right now. Either they do something about the figures, which they can't do, or they prepare for these immigrants who right now face pretty bad conditions when they come.
And why do you say they can't do anything about the figures?
Well, because we can only control about a third of the immigrants who come here. We can't control the European Union ones, and the asylum seekers come here through international conventions. So politicians do talk about point system, how they're going to put it all into this needs basis, but they can't really do that because of the treaties we've signed. If somebody wants to come here from Poland, there is no law in Britain that can stop them.
Maria Misra, this island is full, signed today.
Well, I mean, obviously, I have a personal interest in this. I mean, I'm clearly not completely native. My father was Indian, and his father actually came here in the late 40s. My father taught all his life. He died last year. He taught all his life in the British school system. His sister, my aunt, who's now back in India, came over briefly in the 1970s and worked in the health service as an anaesthetist. Both of them, it's interesting, he was a science teacher, she was a doctor. They were both skilled people. They were bringing skills which were perceived to be in short supply in Britain. So, you know, obviously I'm not in favour of hanging up the this place is full sign. I think a lot of migrants contribute a great deal to the country. I think we should also bear in mind that one of the reasons that cities like London are doing so well internationally is because they are perceived to be highly cosmopolitan. That is seen as an enormous advantage, that cosmopolitanism, and I think it would be a great shame if we were to lose that. On the other hand, I can also see that one needs to protect the interests of the host community. And that one needs to be very careful about perceptions of shortages, particularly in terms of social service, in education, in health provision. In other countries, countries which are already very multi-ethnic, more multi-ethnic even than Britain, it is usually clashes over what are seen as unfair distribution of public resources that cause problems. And that is why, as I think is inevitable, we're going to become more multicultural, that immigration will continue. We do, as Fraser says, have to think very carefully about how we plan for that.
Okay. What's Conservative policy on this? It's the government should control immigration, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, it seems
not what he was saying, that it's inevitable.
It seems pretty obvious, really. I mean, there are some very good reasons why population is projected to rise. People are living longer, which is good news. And actually, our fertility rate as a country is relatively high compared with well, not just thanks to immigrants, Fraser, but certainly compared with a lot of mainland Europe. Our birth rate is good, and that's actually a good thing, I think, for a country. And immigration has been good for this country. We're a country that actually has been really based on immigration
so why is it urgent to
much
control
of our history. Because immigration is a good thing which enriches us and it promotes vitality and vibrancy, but it must be controlled. Because actually, and Fraser is right that there's a limit to how much of it you can control, but economic migrancy you can control. And we're saying that there should be a point system so that people like your father and your uncle aunt who came here should certainly get in, because they're obviously providing skills that we need. But you can also say there should be a limit on the number of people, because actually if you have the numbers appearing to be out of control, then that can cause real tension, real anxiety, and actually it makes us available to be exploited by some very unpleasant people called the BNP.
Okay. The man in the blue shirt there, you say.
Is this limit policy too little too late? Really?
Well, is the limiting policy too little too late?
Is it another one of those Labour policies that they just throw out just to make it look good?
He's a Tory, actually. He's a Tory.
Well, people don't always know that.
Charles Falconer is a very left-wing Tory.
Charles the Labour. He keeps it very well hidden there.
Charlie Falconer.
I think the answer to the question is no, we shouldn't put the sign up saying the island is full, nor, I think, can we. What Fraser was saying I think was very important. There are people who come into this country from the European Union, and because of the commitments we've made there, we can't in practice stop that.